Hey, what's going on, YouTube fam? Welcome back. This is the second installment of the Vermont SportsCar install. If you guys haven't got to check out the first installment, definitely go back and check that out on my channel. I uploaded it, a couple weeks ago so that we can get up to the pace of where we are now. I hope you guys enjoy. We're going to go ahead and just kick it right off to where I left off on the progress-wise, which was the passenger side. I believe it was Bucky Lassick's side skirt is what I left off on. So we're just going to go ahead and jump on that and go from there. All right, so first things first, I'm going to have to figure out the side skirt situation I've got going on. So I went ahead and I made this bracket here, but I can't reach inside and be able to find out how to get the correct mating surface because I've got to drill through that bracket and then put in some actual riv nuts in here so that I can fasten the bracket to the body itself and then fasten the side skirt to the bracket. But I'm having an issue just because obviously I'm not Ant-Man and I can't fit in there and there's no marking that off. So the dilemma is, how do I get that bracket to stick in place? That's my money shot right there. And of course, this is all I have left. And I'm going, man, I'm kicking myself right now because I don't feel like running to the store. So we're going to make this a little bit work. This is just some 3M double-sided tape. We're going to throw a little bit on the backside of that aluminum bracket that I made. And then we'll be able to stick it right to the body itself and then unbolt it. Drop the side skirt down, bada bing, bada boom, in business. But before I get too far with it, I might as well get into a little bit of explanation here. That way you guys can get a general idea of really where we are with this project. All right, as you saw from the pictures in the nice little slideshow I provided for you, I re-manipulated this entire wheel well so that it was much higher, gave us much more clearance for the tire. And now I just need to go in here and I went ahead and I struck the line already. That way I can just trim across that line, give it a nice OE line. And then I'm just going to go ahead and continue rolling this up a lot more and get it more flush on the inside. It'll actually add a little bit more structure as well. But also in the process, by taking off, that excess metal, it's going to help me with manipulating this lip a lot easier because there's a lot of structure in here. But with that said, the OEM actual spot welds themselves, now they do carry, some of them do carry past this line here. So I'm going to have to go in here and do some drilling, and some plug welds and whatnot. And that's just really fast. I'm just going to go ahead and drill just the face of this steel here, every 2-3 inches or so. And then come in here with the plug, with the welder, and just plug it all up, make it all nice and flush because you've got the inner steel that's on the inside here, and then here, you can kind of see the layers. Yeah, here's the layers here, so you know that the backer is what you're going to need to weld into. So, as you can see, some of them carry up, but then they kind of just over here. So, I mean, this is the old lip, guys. This is where it used to be, and then this was all underneath and all exposed and whatnot. From this line out was all exposed basically. So long story short, went ahead and did that because we did the installation of the HT Auto flare for the rear. And on the back here, I'm gonna go ahead and make a nice steel panel. That way that can just pop on there and the nice OEM fashion right in those holes, and then we can put the side skirt on, no problem. I don't like voids. It looks ugly. We're going to take the extra step, do that. That's something that we're going to be doing. The inside brackets, went ahead and fastened these up real quick. Pretty easy, riv nut to the actual car itself. Run on the body, nice and snug, and then put some riv nuts on the actual face itself. It's just a real easy bracket. It's just 2 bends. Real simple. It's only the width of the inner diameter of the skirt. So it just sits on the inside. That way you can't see it. It gives it some nice structure, carries it down. I made another also as well. And then riv nut back here. I still got to sink in this hole. And then I'll put a riv nut here, and that'll be the last section here that will get fastened on the bottom, on the backside, I mean. And then I haven't made or placed I've made it, but I haven't placed the bracket here for the front so that can be placed there. So, I mean, there's some a few odds and ends here and there that I'm going to have to make and whatnot, but that's basically where we are now. I have done some fitting, obviously, with the fenders and the front end and whatnot, but that's still going to have to be secured and put in placement. I do know that I can get all of the body lines correct, so that's usually the first thing that I do. Dry fitment is everything. You want to make sure that you're fitting all your parts first before you get into any kind of, fabrication and whatnot, just for the sheer fact that obviously you want it to fit, and just don't start making brackets for a side skirt or a bumper and whatnot. That's just not going to go on. So do some dry fitment, make sure it fits, make sure you can get all the body lines and the gaps, etc., before you even start making it stationary to the car. It just doesn't make sense, So with that said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to jump on this side skirt. I'm going to finish that up. I'm going to get that on there. I got to get this bolted on, but before I can do so, I'm going to put some 3M tape on there. We'll move that over. There's a lot of parts on this car. So that's basically what I got to do is put it on, make sure it fits, get it stationary, take the part off, etc. Back and forth, back and forth. There's a lot of that. So I'm not really going to entail that into this upload. I really want to explain how to do this. Obviously, this passenger side I haven't done. It is still very much OEM. We still got to place the HT auto flare on here, put some riv nuts, sink those in, etc., etc., and strike the new arc up in here so that we can bring this up, about the halfway point, just like we did last time. And then we're actually going to manipulate all of this metal here and then roll that on the inside, but we'll take that stock lip here and we're going to bring all that down. We're going to flatten all this steel out, and then we're literally going to manipulate on that new arc, that new line. I'm going to show you how to do that. You got to see the pictures beforehand, on whatnot, how I did it on the other side. It's really not too bad, guys. Like, no cuts. You shouldn't be cutting your car up. It's dumb. The only cut you should be doing is trimming it up at the end and being done with it. Don't trim it up first. You want to make sure you do all your plug welds, and whatnot. This is the right, correct way how to do it, guys. Yes, I am telling you, this is the correct way. Correct. You notice I didn't take cutoff wheel to this thing? No freaking cutoff wheels. Please stop hacking your stuff up in your driveway. It's just ridiculous because it doesn't make any sense to do it. You've got to bring it to a guy like me, and then you end up getting jobs like this. Everybody follows that car. Look at that gap. Look where the line is supposed to be on that. Look at that arc. Look how much some hot boy cut that out and did that for him. And then when I got into it, bad. So don't do repairs like that, bruh. That's wrong. Just because you can cover it up with an over fender or a flare doesn't make it right. Not at all. There's a hole in there. You did it. Good job. All right, so I got that side skirt bolted on and I put the tape on there. Took the hardware out. That is the placement that it needs to be in. But you can see the current dilemma. The reason why I need it to have a bracket there is to pull everything down. That way I have clearance for this door, etc. So yeah, you get the point. I got to pull this off, and then we can do some drilling for that bracket. All right, everything is mounted now. Looks great. Everything is stationary to the actual vehicle itself. And I've actually got a nice proper gap. Nothing's going to hit. Stationary all the way through. Up inside. Hardware's hidden while the door is shut, so you can't see it. Etc. Nice and easy. That's the way I like it. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the other side, which again is the same process. Mounting it, putting some tape behind it so that the bracket sticks in place where I need it to be, and then drill some holes, put some riv nuts so that it can be stationary, and then I can actually finish up on this side skirt. Now, I'm sure you've noticed already on this side, there are exposed brackets and whatnot that I've made, and they are in this state, they are bare. There's nothing on the bare aluminum. There's nothing on the bare steel brackets that I've made. Just for the sheer fact that they will be powder coated later. He can come inside here and this will all be
a nice edge molding that he can put on here. There's a nice gap. All of this still has to be body worked, etc. So all of the gap and whatnot will be tightened up. You won't be able to see this. This is all the same shelf level as this this body line here. You can see this line here. That's the exact level as that. So all he has to do is do the body work, tighten all that up, and then he can actually place a molding on there if he so chooses, or he could put a foam seal in here. There's a lot of things that you can do to seal up that line and seal up those plug welds also as well. If he wants to go the extra mile, he can have his body guy just plug weld all these holes up and then just do the body work. I mean, you're going to have to do all the painting and repair anyways. So, I mean, me personally, that's what I would do. I wouldn't want to be able to see that, and I'd want to be able to stop any kind of weather, rain, etc., salt getting on the inside of my rockers, because everybody knows how these Subarus are. You know, any kind of holes that you can plug up and whatnot, I implore it. Do it. Trust me, do it. It's a Subaru. They don't last very long, but I love them to death. That's why I have this channel, so that I can show you how to make them last a lot longer. So I'm a firm believer in rust protection and whatnot. Also, you got to see the brackets I made here for the rear diffuser. I mean, I'm down on my knees right now, and you have to really look inside there to see them, etc. But once they are powder coated black, they'll disappear. You won't see them. You know, they're very shiny, so they make you look at them right now. That's just is what it is. You know, I mean, obviously here standing up, looking inside there, you can see them, but when you step back, you cannot see them, you know? So, I mean, they're going to fade right in. I mean, I've got my door right here, so, I mean, I can't step back too far, but you get the idea. You're not going to see them. And also, if I went any higher as well and closed this gap up, it would just be bending the diffuser itself. You can see where it comes up to the bottom of the bumper, etc. You know, so if I were doing that, I would be flexing the center section here, and that's where it wants to live. So, I mean, it took a lot of time to measure that and get that where it needed to be. I did pull it much tighter, and it just didn't look right. So that's where we went with that. So all the brackets are going to be powder coated. There will be a foam gasket or 3M tape or whatever, you know, in between all of the actual parts themselves, you know, on paint in between, so that there's no wear and tear between movement, etc. I mean, these cars flex, that is what it is. But I went ahead and I put the HT Auto flare on here. You know, obviously you can see it, and it had to do some trimming on it. You can see that he's got the rear diffuser, and we needed it to clear. And then over here as well, where the side skirt mates right up, I had to trim off the bottom half as well. I'm going to go ahead, make that filler piece here, all out of steel, and then his body man can body work that. And if you're wondering why I'm not doing the body work for it, is surely because I have obviously other bigger projects and other obligations that I have, you know, agreed upon. So I have to do those. I thought I was going to be able to fit this in as a pretty quick installation of a kit. It ended up being a longer process. I spent an entire day dry fitting everything, getting everything to where it fit really good, to where I knew I could make some things to make it stationary. I was really hoping, because obviously the majority of the cars have to be road cars. You know, when I say majority of the cars, I mean the rally cars have to be street driven. They have to have a plate on them. So I was kind of hoping that the side skirts were just going to go on, the fenders were just going to go on. I mean, these were already on cars, you know, they were already on this model, etc. So I thought it was going to be easy. Once I got into it, I realized, no, Bill, they don't just bolt right on. You're going to have to make some brackets, etc. like they did. They've removed all the brackets. The side skirts were supposed to be, they look like they were supposed to be like a replacement to be put on Bucky's car. I'm not real sure if they were on his car during the rally, but I mean, maybe not this passenger one, because I mean the driver's side one, because the
passenger one, I actually took it off. I mean, the holes are there, but that one actually had the bracket on there, as well as the fenders for Travis Pastrana's fenders. So we know and we're pretty certain that these have been driven, and I'm pretty certain I found the picture of the car on Google. So these were already pre-drilled. I was able to just put the fenders on. They didn't line up that great. I mean, this is a WRC car. They're not looking for like proper, fitment and gap fitment and whatnot. I mean, I want, if I'm going to go for 2/3/8 gap, I want that everywhere. I want it all throughout the whole car, all the way from the hood to the trunk, or the hatch, excuse me. And yeah, anyway, so I was able to get the fitment for that. I'm going to put those back on once I get these side skirts stationary. It takes a long time to do this, mainly because I had to make a lot of the brackets and whatnot just to get it to acclimate to the car. And yeah, with that said, it's a lot of hot air. I had to say it, sorry. That's where we're at. Now it's time to finish up with that side skirt, get that mounted up. It's just going to take a little bit of tape on the back side of that bracket, just like I did on the other, and just a little bit of replicating, and we'll be able to get this done. All right, so now it is time to install that front bumper. Now, I've already got it form-fitted around the headlights pretty well, and I went ahead and slotted out the area here so that I could put in some fresh hardware mounted up to the actual fender itself. And then it is going to mate also here with the grill, and the grill itself will bolt here to the radiator support. Very, very much rigid. So it should be, pretty supported also as well, all the way throughout. Same thing here. Normally they just have a plastic bracket underneath the fenders anyways, where the bumper would just snap onto anyway. So there's really not too much, that I'm too worried about this. As far as being rigid and whatnot, it's extremely, extremely lightweight. It's extremely lightweight. So there's not much pressure and strain on it. It's going to be bolted also on the bottom half here as well. So it will be supported, etc. Now I'm in the process of designing an aluminum bash bar for it as well, for some extra support and rigidity. It's not for safety, because in case of an accident, that bash bar gonna die. So that's just what it is. That thing crumble up like a Pepsi can. It's just gonna be aluminum is all we're making it out of. So it's not gonna be a bash bar. It's really just there, I guess, for a support bar. So that's really the ideal is what I'm doing now is I've already got an idea of what I need for for what I need for the areas and what I need to support, especially like the center grill. I'm thinking is probably maybe like the only area that probably going to have to support. I see everything being pretty rigid. I've already had this bumper on there. You already got to see in the pictures already. So it is very stable. I'm very happy with it. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to sink in some hardware on this, and then we'll see where we are from there. All right, with the bumper on now. Now it is secured at the fender section here, and I just have the grill literally just sitting on the headlight surface here. It's just really lightweight, so you can kind of do that, but you can get an idea. That fricker ain't going nowhere. It's actually extremely rigid, just like that, because not to toot my own horn, but I got it extremely tight. You can't see because the tape is peeling down, but it butts really nice and tight up against the headlight itself. And yeah, it took some time, but I got it.
And I'm happy with it. So with it being snug and secure, which is really good, which gives me an inclination that the shelving or the aluminum support bracket that I'm going to put in there, or the bash bar, it it'll do its job, but it probably will be overkill at this point because that thing does not freaking move. So with that said, I'm still going to go ahead and design one. I'm having an issue right now trying to find a TIG welder. I don't personally own my own TIG machine, so I'm in the process of trying to get one so that I can play with it, of course. So, yeah, I can do aluminum with my snap-on welder, but it's going to be a spool gun. And man, I hate spool gun welding. It's a pain in the butt. It really is. If you've never spool gun welded before, there's this thing called stick out. You got to have the wire sticking out of the tip, and my issue is anything less than, like, because they say like around like an inch or so. I think it's like, I want to say it's an inch of stick out or more. I tend to have the best results when I have like 2 inches of stick out. That's when the wire comes out, and then you're that far away when you're pulling the gun, the trigger on the gun, and then you got to move like really, really, really quick. If you're not a good welder, never pick up a spool gun because you gonna mess some stuff up. You're gonna burn material very quickly. It heats up very quickly. If you don't clean your aluminum well, actually almost better than it would be if you were TIGging. You have to clean it up better than that. It won't weld very well. So in that instance, I'm not even going to attempt the whole spool gun welding. I mean, you can get a spool gun for like $200. So if that says anything, you know, a $200 welder, you're gonna get $200 welds. So I'd be metal finishing the crap out of this thing. I wouldn't even know if I even had proper penetration, let alone if I was even burning material away. And we're just going to be using some square tube because just the shape of the square tube itself is the best for using as a shelf on the inside of this bumper. That way I can actually run it on the inside surface here. And then it being square tube, I literally can tap into it, so that'd be nice. I can put some bungs or, some rib nuts and whatnot into the square tube itself, and then have a nice extra rigidity, shelf bash bar, and throw that underneath there, and be happy with it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. That bumper isn't moving anyways. It's super rigid, and it looks so good though, right? It looks so good. It's going to be nice when we got all 4 wheels on here. I can give you an idea of what the wheels are going to look like. We did not do any uploads for that. I don't think I even took any pictures of that, so might as well do that now, right? So I had him put together one of the wheels. He has the rims themselves, but to get the tires put together as a solid wheel set, I needed that for clearance. It's expensive, so I told him to at least get one of them done. He did so for me, which is great. And I've got it wrapped up, because it's extremely expensive. So these other ones here are not wrapped up, they're big wide boys, as you can see. I think they're like 10.5, almost 11-inch wide. I'm pretty sure, yeah, these are 10.5s because this one here is an 11-inch wide that's going on the STI. I mean, you can see the big difference, and obviously we're going to need that extra width to get that flush look. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to unwrap that expensive wheel and get that down here. We'll get that bolted up, we'll place it in here, and then you can get an idea of what that's going to look like. And then I'll go ahead and I'll transfer it up to the front also as well. You'll also get a broader idea of the look that this is going to be. He is going to be sanding everything down and painting all this one color. It will be the, obviously the standard Subaru white, as you see. It's going to be an extremely clean look, especially with the wide body, which is going to be awesome. I mean, there's a lot of contrasting lines on here, which is great. So, I mean, we've got some really nice fitment. I'm very happy with the clearances and the gaps and whatnot. So I think that's what I'll do is we'll butter you up with some wheels, or at least a wheel. All right, I drug it down. You ready for it? I like them. Oh, yes. So nice. So it's a big difference from the Sparcos in the rear, as you can see. And it really changes the aggression of the car. And to get you an idea of where she's sitting, she's got a little bit of poke. But I think it's mainly just because I got the wheel turned. Let me straighten that out. There we go. I think that'll work. There we go. I mean, I can probably turn the wheel just straighten it out a little bit more, but you get the idea. That's standing directly over it. It's very, very close to being flush and whatnot. And then you can see the huge difference with, that stock offset. So we're going to go ahead and transfer this over and get an idea. But man, huge difference, right? I mean, look at that, guys. So nice. And now with the rear. Crazy, right? Looks so good. I mean, obviously the tire suspension and whatnot has been extended out because we are on jack stands, but it's got that same level of poke. I'll stand directly over it actually. So it's right there is money. So it's basically exactly the same as the front, which is great. Nice wide tire. Looks awesome from the rear. Just a really nice offset. Really complements the car. I like it. What do you think? All right, playtime over. Back to work. All right, so with having the bumper on here, I know that everything is rigid and secure, especially up front. We know that we have already acclimated all of the gaps that we're looking for. And it's great that this is all secure, but back here, not so much. So that's the next target right now. We're going to go ahead and make a bracket for the inside of the fender and just kind of keep it simple. We're going to bring the hardware here on this inner edge, basically so that it's exposed or not exposed. And we can't see it. It's nice and clean. And then later I can put a nice liner in here. Going to have to make a liner so that we can seal all this area up, especially from the elements, because this is all open now. I mean, you can see right inside there, there's your air filter right up in there. So that's not going to work. You can't suck water into the engine and just go boom. So now with the WRC arcs being much wider and taller, the OEM fender liners will not be used. They cannot be utilized just for the sheer fact that the old arc was here and the liner would sit in further. Just can't use it. Even if you did try to use it, you're going to see it, and it's just going to defeat the purpose of all the wheel clearance, especially for the tire and, or excuse me, I should say the wheel choice that he's going with. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and without talking your head off, I'm going to move off to get some more fabrication done. All right, I went ahead and made myself a nice paper template. That way I can trace this off of the 2-inch aluminum strap. So we'll go ahead and make ourselves a nice little bracket. All right, so with having those cut, got 2 of them. So they are virtually identical, which is awesome. So it makes it a lot easier to replicate for the other side. And then we're just going to go ahead, pre-drill some holes in this, get them ready for the actual rib nuts itself. And then put a bend in it. Use your template, bring it right over. Where the bend is, you'll mark, or you could even use this edge to trace. Whatever tickles your fancy. And then go ahead, strike your bend, get that in there to the desired shape that you are looking for. And check your work. Make sure you do not overbend because you are going to stretch the aluminum quite a bit, and going to correct it in the opposite direction can result sometimes in failure. Usually it will snap. It's not as strong as steel, but it's super duper strong and lightweight until you start manipulating it. It just is what it is. So there are some pluses with aluminum, and then there are some negatives also as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and drill some holes and see if we can get some brackets up there. Before I get too far ahead, I went ahead and flipped one over so that I could do the correct bend, and made sure that it did fit perfectly on the driver's side, also as well as the passenger side, obviously. And now we are officially ready to drill some holes. All right, so we got everything drilled out. Now this smaller edge here will be the edge that sits on the inside of the fender itself, and that's what will bolt to the fender. So that's the only two holes that we'll have to get the riv nuts themselves. These are riv nuts, you know, threaded little rivet basically, and they get scrunched up on the inside of the material. That's what they grab. You know, riv nut gun, that's what it looks like. It's just got a threaded, you just basically thread. Now let's see if I can focus. Okay, so it's got a threaded end, you know, that's what pulls the rivet itself. And then, yeah, but before we can actually sink those in there, we got to make these bends. So we'll put those bends in there, and then we can actually sink the riv nuts. All right, so once it is set up on the bender, and I already checked, looked like we're just going to need a 90-degree bend on that angle. We should be fine. So we'll go ahead and give this a little tweak. That's about 90. Then you see my little D on the backside. My little D. And there you have it. There are two fashion brackets that are virtually identical. We are ready to rock. I'm happy. That's basically the inside, how it will sit on the inside body of the car. Nice and flush, just like so. And then down here where my fingers are, that's where it'll bolt to the fender. So we'll go ahead and illustrate rather than explain. And then we'll come down here. You can see what I mean. So we'll put this where that's gotta be. And you get the idea. So it looks like we have over tweaked it. So I'm going to try and massage that back down just a little bit more. But other than that, I mean, just a little bit off, but that's money. So we'll go ahead and we'll get that back where it's got to be. But other than that, that's a very clean bracket, and it can be removed at any point in time. And with some simple tweaking, I am back at it. Let me see. Yep, passenger. Come on, making me look bad. All right, there we go. Boom. Nice and flush. Looks so nice. Yeah, so anyways, it looks good. I got it nice and flush. Everything meets up and mounts perfectly. And then driver side, real quick. Just to show you, so I'm not a liar. Boom. Nice and flat, nice and flush. Fits perfectly. I like it. I mean, everything looks good. Everything looks nice and flush. It's going to be very, very minimal exposure to it on the inside. So I like it. Yep. So time to mount. So now it's time to do some riv nuts. We know that this section here is going to be on the body, and then this tail section here that reaches out will be attached to the fender itself. So we're going to go ahead. We'll make sure that that is P. That's the passenger side. So this is the face side that we'll be inserting the riv nuts on, because that's going to fit on the backside of the fenders themselves. So we'll go ahead. We'll sink some riv nuts. We'll get these prepared, and then we can start running our dots and drilling some holes and whatnot for these actual brackets. Now, because it's tight quarters and whatnot in there. I'm gonna have to remove the fender after this, but per se, I want to make sure that everything is done with these brackets first before I remove any of that, because it took a long time to get those gaps the way they are, and it's kind of a shame that I gotta take it all back off now just so I could drill some holes behind this fender here, which obviously I can't drill and attach this bracket because I can't get a drill in there. So it is what it is. You know, that's part of putting these kits on. You need to understand that there's going to be a lot of on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. And that's just the repetition of this kind of work. Okay, so with those ready to go, now literally all you got to do is place them, run some dots in there. Let me turn on the light so you can see better. Boom. And look how nice that looks. So it'll be stationary to the vehicle itself and then to the actual fender also. So if he's going to look to remove that, he'll just remove the fender liner and then the two hardware up against the body itself, and then it'll come right with the fender. It'll actually be stationary here because you can't really reach any of that when the door is shut or open, really, to be honest. I mean, you can see that's just that little shelf that's in there. You can't access that hardware, you know, and you can't see it. And I wanted it to be hidden, and that's the main reason why I'm doing it there in that vicinity. So I like it. I like the placement. I like the design. Super duper lightweight. I can barely feel this thing in my hand. It's, you know, it's aluminum. That's one really good plus side about aluminum, is they don't weigh anything, and it's really strong, so that's a good thing. So we're gonna go ahead and place it in the desired area that I want it. That looks like a pretty good area, and then just run some paint marker through the holes, and then I can drill some holes and then just attach this. I've got this taped in the place that I want it to be so that I have the you know, the gap that I'm looking for. It's a little wonky also, as well. As you can see, it kind of goes from fatter to skinnier, and then it goes right back down to fatter. So what I did was I moved it in as far as I could so that, let me turn the light off, a lot better, right? So that he could come in here and sand all of this in a nice uniform gap and achieve what the owner of this car is going to want. So hopefully you'll be happy, because I mean, this looks really good. It's just the center here just needs a little bit of work, you know, just a little bit of sanding, and then be able to achieve the same gap. So that's really why I like where it's living right now. So I taped it in place. We're going to go ahead and run that bracket. We'll make it stationary. Whoop, whoop. And then once I get those brackets on there, then I'm probably going to shift my energy towards the bottom area here. Want to go ahead and start making those filler panels here so that I can basically get rid of that. I can make this stationary. I got a really good feeling that I'm going to have to get rid of this, and either that or cut this section out and then move it up here, you know, do kind of like a plastic repair type deal, and move that mating section up. Just because it's not going to fit. If I put this here, you know, on the body line, run that straight down, you know, it does hit, you know, so I'm going to have to take off quite a bit, you know, and I've already trimmed up as much as I can. The side skirt lives where it lives. It can't go any higher, and I mean any lower, because the gap itself on the bottom would just look atrocious. So that's where I am with that. And I want clean lines, you know, so I mean, it didn't do all this work and all this time and all these late nights just to have that right there as an eyesore. Lots of late nights. I mean, unfortunately, stuff like this takes a long time. Majority of the people probably just slap it together and get it done and get it down the road, which is why it's here. He's explained that to me. That's why he didn't want a body shop per se, just kind of putting it on and whatnot. They really don't care. I mean, yeah, you can get a lot of body shops to achieve the gaps and whatnot, because there are a lot of good body shops out there, but not a lot of them are going to take the time or the days it's going to take to do all the measurements and making all the custom brackets, etc. And then if you do find a shop, they're probably going to overcharge you to do so. So, I mean, to achieve something like this, it's usually very, very expensive. Now, I do know, the owner, Aaron, so he is a good guy. We're friends, so of course I helped him out. I usually try to help everybody out, people that usually reach out to me and say, hey man, how much is it to do that? Or even seeing, another thing too I get is, how do you sell your tubs so damn cheap? Well, it's because I make them in-house. I do everything myself. Now, because I do everything myself, I don't have all that crazy overhead. I don't have all these crazy employees running around me fucking shit up all the time, because that's what majority happens is if you have too many people, you lose that quality level. And the reason why I can achieve that high quality level is because I stay here late at night, because I'm here working on your car. You may not think I am. I may, you probably can't get a hold of me. A lot of times most people get mad because they can't get a hold of me through text messages and whatnot. And most of the time I just ignore my phone, play music, or I'm doing this right here. I'm vlogging and you'll hear that in the background a lot of times in my videos. That's a freaking text message. You'll hear it a lot in my uploads. I get a lot of messages. So other than that, it's time. So I basically try to acclimate a lot of my time and focus on getting these things done, which means usually 12-hour shifts. A lot of these cars and builds take a long time to do. So know that when you're going to get into this. I try to make it look easy, mainly for the motivation aspect. I want you to build things like this. I want you to do things and then also know how to do it also as well, because that's why I convey and try to teach as much as possible. So without talking your head off, I am trying to end this upload. Just do it right. Take your time. You're going to have to drive it down the road. Just make sure that others aren't going to pick it apart, because it's 2020 now. Nowadays everybody thinks they're a professional and knowledge is pretty easily obtained. So nowadays usually get called out pretty easily. It's real sees real. It's really how it works. It real sees real. If you are doing a crappy job or you're hacking stuff up and you're cutting quarter panels and just putting over fenders over to hide it, and whatnot, and doing those hot boy tactics, then that's fine. That's you. That's cool for maybe that league, but that's not my league. That's how I like to do things. Things do take a long time when I do them because they're done right. I come from a hot rod field. I come from working on hot rods, something that there's this huge plethora of money that are generated towards for a reason, because the quality on a hot rod is not crap. That's how that works. When you go and work on someone's Camaro or whatnot, and I'm sorry to say this is a Subaru channel, but understand that's where I got my quality level from. That's where it started, guys. None of this would exist without that V8. Understand that all of that built all this. That was a genre. There was garages that didn't have 4 cylinders. They thought these things were Pepsi cans on wheels, and that's fine. Now, then they were. We thought they were fast, but they're not. They weren't. So nowadays, these are fast. These are the new hot rods. Well, I want to build them like the old hot rods, where everybody puts all their time and energy into them and actually brings the value of them up. You ever understood? Actually, you ever noticed how much a freaking Subaru is worth now? Junkers nowadays are worth thousands of dollars. It's amazing. You find a rotted one runs really good. Dude wants $3,000 for it. It's crazy. He wants thousands of dollars, and it is rotted to the bone, but it'll pass inspection. It drives. It gets you from point A to point B. You're starting to get my point here. So if you actually put your money and time and it actually has a classic feel and a classic build and taste and whatnot to it, then you know that the money generated to it will stay with it, because you know that, one, it's documented here on YouTube, but also you can prove everything. Everything is visible. You know that it's done right. And if you were to take it to a show or anywhere else and you have someone that is a professional that's going to pick it apart, they're not going to find anything. That's the beauty of things. So, that was a lot of hot air. It had to be said. It's one of those things where I work all day and then I think about the stuff that I need to say, and then usually at the end of my videos I get to say it. So with that said, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'm Bill Schneider. This is Rumble Garage. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good day.